Hello again. So here we are at the other side of Easter Sunday, and maybe you were able to join in with a church service, a virtual church service online. Maybe you were one of those people who shouted, "Hallelujah!" and "Christ is risen." And maybe you felt joyful at that knowledge, at that news. And then you looked around and your circumstances are unchanged. These are the same four walls. And although the sun is still shining and the blossom is still on the tree, we're still in lockdown. What's actually changed? Years ago, when the news service of the BBC was first started, there were rules about it not being sensationalised. The newsreaders, when they started to be visible, because first of all it was just on the wireless, the newsreaders had to wear dinner jackets and bow ties. They had to speak with received pronunciation. It was even called a BBC voice, so that everybody could hear. And during the last time of crisis, things like the news became really important. Families gathered round the wireless of an evening and heard the daily updates about what was happening with the war. It was an event. News was an event. Now, news is 24/7. It's wall to wall. I know that's a cliche, but it's become the sort of background noise to our world. So our news providers provide ever more sensationalized news, images that are ever more graphic. And we fail to respond because our news now doesn't really provoke a response. It's just the background noise to our lives. We might share something. Did you see this? Did you hear that person's died? Did you see what's happening in this part of the world? But it's quickly gone. None of it stays with us. None of it makes a difference. None of it prompts a response. And yet the news of Jesus' death and resurrection, the good news, that the gospel, that's what the word gospel means, the good news, prompts a response. Jesus' brother, James, many years later, wrote a letter to the church. And he said that we should be doers and not just hearers. He says, but be doers of the word. That means be doers of the gospel, the good news. Do the gospel, don't just hear it. Be doers of the word and not merely hearers who deceive themselves. For if any are hearers of the word and not doers, they are like those who look at themselves in a mirror. For they look at themselves and on going away immediately forget what they were like. But those who look into the perfect law, the law of liberty, that's the gospel, that's the good news, and persevere, being not hearers who forget, but doers who act, they will be blessed in their doing. Our four walls may be unchanged. Our environment may be unchanged. We may still be in lockdown. But the good news that Jesus, the Son of God, died and rose again is news which demands a response in us. Keep safe.